nicht Düsenflieger, jeder war ein großer Krieger, hielten sich für Captain Kirk. Es gab ein großes Feuerwerk, die Nachbarn haben nichts gerafft und fühlten sich gleich angemacht. Dabei schoss man am Horizont auf 99 Luftballons.
Hello 2015, you saucy bitch. What a pleasure to meet you. My New Year's resolution is 1080p, but you can watch it in 720 if you prefer. The weather here in Aotearoa is spectacular right now, and I've been taking full advantage of it. I hope you guys have too. And I have much to be cheerful about. I've resolved two of the major plaguing issues with my sound recording so far. To edit these videos I've been using Windows Movie Maker, basically because it's free and I'm a cheap ass, and it had an unfortunate tendency to effectively and completely arbitrarily kill all sound on my laptop, just randomly, because it decides fuck you, that's why. Rather amusingly, it turns out the solution to this is to basically go through the properties and set Windows Movie Maker to compatibility mode, because it turns out, for some reason completely beyond me, that Windows Movie Maker is not automatically compatible with Windows. The other sound issue you will have undoubtedly noticed in the previous two videos is for a couple of the replays recording narration on top of them. It sounded rather like I was speaking from the end of a long tunnel. Turns out that for some reason Windows Movie Maker had set the internal mic on the laptop to be the default sound recording device, so I had to disable that, and it's cleaned up rather nicely now. But enough waffling for now. A new year, a new grind, so let's get to it. Okay, week 3, and the Germans are done and dusted. Completely knocked out, 150,000 damage and 150 kills. So, where to from here? Onwards and upwards with the Soviets, who are currently sitting at 53,000 out of 150,000 damage and 26 kills, and in particular the United States, 33,277 damage, 25 kills. I'm going to be focusing mostly on the Yanks this time around, for one particular reason, and that is discounts. On the 5th of January, every vehicle tier 8 and higher is going on a 15% discount, and at the moment the only nation that I've got that's really got close to this sort of level is the Americans. I just need another 14,000 experience to pick up the T69, and roughly 20,000 experience to pick up the Patton. What this means is a lot of games in the Pershing, and the trusty T71. Life is hard, I know. The idea is to get the experience knocked out so that I can sell these off before the special kicks in, and with the current ×5 weekend running, I don't see that being too much of a problem. In terms of actually dealing damage for the mission itself, at the moment the primary damage deal is going to be the M103, recently upgraded with the Top Gun and discounted vert stabs, so it should be a fairly accurate vehicle to roll with. And when, of course, the Pershing upgrades into the Patton, although I've heard it's a really, really painful stock grind even by tier 9 standards, universally known for being just utterly horrible stock tanks, if I can get the unlocks done fast enough, get past these horrible 90mm guns, that should hopefully ease things along. Of course I won't be sticking to just the Yanks, just sticking to a single nation. It drives me a bit nutty over time, so I will be of course looking into the Soviets. In particular, I'll be getting a lot of games in the tier 9 heavies, the STI, love this machine, and the IS-8, which is pretty close to getting its final turret unlocked, which definitely improves the gun handling and just makes it an all-round better vehicle to play. So looking forward to the IS-7. And it's about time. I've had it sitting in my garage for quite a while that I took this thing out for a spin and finally get the tracks unlocked so I can mount all the fun modules and start racking up damage with the BL-10. But it's not going to be all about just grinding the biggest vehicles I can in the hunt for damage. I also want to make credits to take advantage of the ridiculous specials coming, so of course last year's contender for the marathon event is going to be featuring rather heavily in my gameplay. I must say I do love the brawling playstyle of this thing. And for no reason beyond my own vanity, I'm going to try and finally get myself a decent game in this, the T-34-85M. If you're completely unfamiliar with it, it's the T-34-85 with the middle gun, so kind of naff. 75mm of frontal armour with a brilliant slope, so nice and bouncy if you're facing tier 6s. And unfortunately it's got the power to weight ratio of the Sherman Jumbo. It's a bit of an odd mix, and I'm frankly shocked it doesn't have preferential matchmaking. But I want to get a decent game in this, so I can throw up a decent replay and do some sort of a review for it. Anyway, that would be the plan. Hopefully all things go as anticipated. Status report. I'm clearly not taking this game seriously enough. I've been letting myself get entirely too distracted. I've been playing a fair bit of other games, DayZ primarily, and not really making all that much progress. The current tally for the Yanks is 82,614 damage with a respectable 77 kills, and with the Soviets up to 89,392 damage with 50 kills, a third of the way there. It seems pretty clear that I'm going to have to pull finger if I want even a shit show of finishing these guys off. But that's the bad news out of the way. The good news is, experience has been very good for me. I finally unlocked the turret on the IS-8 here, and man, it really, really improves this thing. I was not a fan of it until I got that turret unlocked. Now the gun handles so well, and the maneuverability of this vehicle allowing you to get where you need to be. Sure, you're going to take a lot of damage when you're doing, the nitty-gritty of the fighting, but you'll be able to administer a severe butt-kicking, which is what really counts after all, isn't it? Not only this, but I have also bid farewell to the Pershing and the T-71 and replaced it with the M46 Patton, which, underwhelming so far as you can expect with the Pershing's top gun, and the T-69, which is actually surprisingly enjoyable with the T-71 stock gun. As you can see, even with the tiny little pop gun, you're still capable of performing outstandingly well with this machine. When I'd first picked up the T-71 and fully unlocked all the modules on it so that it was running at peak performance, I was intending to treat it as one of my keeper tanks. It was such a little scrapper I named the wee bastard Honey, and its introduction to the game really sidelined the 1375. But unfortunately that sidelining has happened again with the introduction of the M41 Bulldog. The T-71 is a bunch of fun, don't get me wrong, it can perform rather well, but it's just so completely outclassed by the Bulldog, which I will be picking up fairly soon. And yep, that is me perched atop the Bulldog at the Waiouru Army Camp. The museum there also features a dead sexy Centurion. In any case, the week's featured some absolutely terrible days of gaming. But on the whole, the balance has been more toward the absolute crackers like this one. It's pretty clear though that I'm going to have to get a lot more active with my grind. I need to get the Yanks and Soviets knocked out this coming week, and following that I'm going to have to really crack down on the Brits, and possibly the French. And now we take one last look at my honey, the T-71. I'm going to miss her. Although the T-71 has been upstaged by the Walker Bulldog, it is by no means a bad tank. It is still a wee vicious bastard of a tank, as this replay should show. When spawning south on South Coast, if I'm in a tank that has a fair clip of speed, I always prefer to head to the centre of the map, get myself firmly ensconced in the E7 section. The shelf there provides you with an amazing scope to influence the map. If you have a decent view range, you're able to light any targets pushing down the O-line and put some effective fire into them. Likewise, you're easily capable of lighting up any base campers at C6. Now, this is my first mistake. I'm proximity spotted by the ELC, but still, I pop around the corner and bang. That's 257 hit points that I didn't need to lose, but I'm looking for kills, so we'll have this guy. Now, I can take him, but I don't need to take another shot from him. Instead of rocking back and forth, I should have looked for a little bit more cover to make it harder for him to hit me. Now, KV-85 joins the party, so I GTFO while he conveniently misses me, but I really should have gone for a reload here. I want to deal with the ELC, but one shell is not going to do it. Especially if I fire like that. Now, I'm going for the reload now, and just keeping the ELC a little bit occupied and a little bit spotted so that he has to have a bit of concern for his health and he's just not really that free to act. Dancing about to keep him spotted while I finish my reload, dodge a shot. Reload done, and it's time to go all in. Now the ELC, it's got a nasty 90mm gun, but it's a little bit derpy, it takes a while to reload, and being so low profile, it's hard for him to aim on uneven ground. However, I made it easy for him by faffing about on the wall there, backing off when I should have just pressed home the attack. And as you can see, I took another hit that I can ill afford to take. That's the thing about the high-tier light tanks. Although they fulfill a similar functional role to medium tanks, to offset the improved mobility and camouflage rating that they have in comparison, they have far fewer hit points to work with. It's a lot less forgiving, and you have to be really, really careful about how you spend your health. The experience is a lot more tense, but it's so rewarding when you pull it off. Meanwhile on South Coast, an IS-3 is kindly giving me his juicy flank to feast on. And after some much appreciated assistance by the Rheinmetall, I finish him off, and take this reload cycle as my cue to pause for breath as a Jagdpanzer IV tantalizingly sits in front of me while I'm unable to shoot. That bastard. Alright, Flat Panzer's dead, so I'm off to find another snack. Now I'm sure I left a KV-85 over here, and sure enough, there he is. Time to go and have a peek. At this point, both our teams are committed to the fight, so I'm not really doing any spotting per se. So I've got to take this opportunity while the enemy's distracted to try and find openings to press the advantage. KV-85's isolated and I can scavenge a kill off him, and luckily the 5100 is having difficulty hitting me. He's having to push himself quite far over the edge of that hill in order to get his gun down on me, and it's this more than anything that's saved my ass here. Now this is what really makes light tanks for me. They're not the backbone of the team that the enemy has to break, but they are enough of a nuisance, enough of a threat that they have to be kept an eye on. Left to their own devices, they can wreak merry havoc, so they have to be dealt with. So the catch-22 with a canny light tank is if you're dedicating time to keep him pinned down, or to go gung-ho after him, you're making yourself vulnerable to his allies, as that AMX is discovering to his cost. But if you don't go after them or keep them pinned down, they get to find an opening, sneak in behind your lines, and go after your soft targets, the ones with the high damage yielding guns like tank destroyers and artillery. And wouldn't you know it, here's my gap, here's the artillery.
Ready to fire. Penetration. Enemy armor is destroyed.
Another threat down, and going for a reload because 2 shells is just not enough to make an impact at this stage of the game. Left or right? I'm opting to go right because if I go left, there's entirely too much presence of enemies there for me to safely deal with. Because I was careless with my health earlier, I've got no margin of error here, so I can't really go face to face with an enemy tank. So I opted to go with the pack to take down the T-32, but the job is finished before I can get there, and now nothing left to lose, and a kill to gain. I double back to get a nice perch to fire off some sneaky shots at the AMX. This one fires entirely too soon. At this range I really need to fully aim in, and here goes the killing blow.
Enemy armor is destroyed.
So that's Top Gun to me, and game, set, and match. Top Gun, tokens, 10,000 WN8, 2,460 odd damage and 6 kills to the mission. Top of the team, top damage, and although I made a hell of a lot of mistakes, I still managed to pull it through. Down to the wire. All in all, it was a pretty good send-off for my T-71, netting 9,480 for my ×5. This was the final game needed to unlock the T-69, elite the T-71, the last game I ever played in it, a fitting end for a fantastic, if overshadowed, tank.
99 Jahre Krieg ließen keinen Platz für Sieger. Kriegsminister gibt's nicht mehr.